can eat, something that has a little bit of vitamin C, and then you can eat something that has a ton of vitamin C, So it's the same thing with mushrooms. It's like they literally are like a superfood. And some of them are so condensed with vitamins and minerals and nutrients that it doesn't take very much to provide what your body needs for, like you mentioned, contributing to your system, your immune system, your organs, your brain, your eyesight, your skin. And there's been just wonderful research coming out, of people using these to help with all kinds of conditions and all kinds of ailments. I never like to say something's like a silver bullet in itself, but Paul Stamets' company, Fungi Perfecti, they were doing they just released a bunch of studies a few years ago with the American Cancer Society, and they were doing turkey tail trials with people that were on chemotherapy. And the trials were showing that the people that were taking the turkey tail in conjunction with the chemotherapy had less side effects from the chemotherapy, recovered faster after the chemotherapy was done, and stayed longer in remission that the folks that were taking the turkey tail with it. And so there you have just this extra tool. It's not like, oh, take turkey tail, it'll shrink your tumor. But obviously Western medicine has a lot to offer us if you need surgery, if you need chemotherapy. But going in it alone without looking at diet, without looking at supplements and other powerful foods and nutrients that can contribute to helping your body through that process. And then not to mention on a regular basis, if you're not in a crisis, like you have, you're going through cancer treatment or something like that, but you're just looking at providing your body, like we talked about, in a very stressful world that's becoming more and more contaminated, providing your body with those essential nutrients that are found less and less in our food and in our soils.
These turkey tails, do they know why they're benefiting those chemo trials?
I forget what the compounds were in them specifically, but again, the mineral and vitamin, packed into these tiny little, polypore fungi, and these polysaccharides and these beta-glucans, we know now that those feed our system. They feed our red blood cells. They feed our white blood cells. They feed the components that our immune systems and our lymphatic system needs to function.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like this hericium compound in the lion's mane. They broke it. They've dissected this really profound nutrients found in the lion's mane, and it feeds our body exactly what we use to grow nerves and connective tissue in our body. And it's not that this isn't also found in, other things you eat, it's just so condensed and compacted that you can make a tea or a tincture or a double extraction, out of these mushrooms, or just eat them also, that you're giving your body this exact nutrients and this exact recipe that it needs to provide your brain and your connective tissue and your nervous system with these compounds. And
Well,
so
no, continue.
they, again, not a silver bullet, but the studies that have come out so far showed that people with memory issues, people with cognitive issues, this didn't clear up all their problems and then their memory was just amazing. They did a 3-month treatment. But what they found was, as the people continued to take these lion's mane mushroom, they showed small improvements in their cognitive function. And when they stopped, their problems came right back. And so it wasn't clearing up, all the issues they had. It was just providing their body the ability to ward off and slow down the cobwebs in the brain that are going to build up in all of us if we are lucky to live into our 80s and 90s years old. Our brains just don't function that way anymore. Our nervous system and our nerves don't repair themselves as fast as we age. And then there's folks struggling with, nerve disorders. I talked to a woman who uses lion's mane for her son, and she mentioned that he had Lyme's disease. And I was like, I think that's a bacterial infection. I'm not sure that lion's mane is going to necessarily help with that. And she said, oh no, it's not for the Lyme's. It's for the Lyme's, the nerve damage the Lyme's disease has caused and the pain that he has from the nerve damage. And if he takes the lion's mane, it slows down the nerve damage and reduces his pain. And I was just blown away because I had not read that anywhere, but here was this firsthand person telling me that this helps my son. And she bought 5 bottles. And I was like,
Oh, that's
okay.
incredible.
Another story, I like personal stories. Of course, I have like the fungal pharmacy that shows every compound that you can extract, through alcohol and water and, each mushroom and what we think those, what we know those do in the body and stuff. So the science is there, but I like the firsthand experiences. I was at the herb store and this 2 very large gentlemen walked in full leather with giant Harley Davidson patches on their backs. And he proceeded to go in the back of Moonrise Herbs and buy all the reishi mushrooms she had. And I just couldn't help myself. I'm starting a mushroom farm, I'm like, oh, excuse me, sir. He's like 6'5", and I'm like, what are you doing with the reishi mushroom? And he goes, I have Hep C, Hep B, Hep A, and I'm supposed to be dead. And this mushroom saved my life. And the doctors all think I should be dead and they don't believe me. I started taking this mushroom and I'm still alive. And he did not want they offered him a tincture and he said, no, the tincture doesn't work. He said, I have to boil the mushroom for the tea. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I need to know more. And I raced home and I started researching. This is, 12, 13 years ago. So I didn't have the fungal pharmacy book yet. I don't even know if it was out, but lo and behold, I find this Chinese medicine doctor's website, and there is all the compounds that are extractable through hot water and all the compounds that are extractable through alcohol. And sure enough, the water soluble compounds were known to help suppress help the body fight viruses. And that's what this gentleman had infected himself with by contacting hepatitis. He was giving his immune system just enough nutrients to ward off this hepatitis and keep him alive. And he must have been, in his 60s or something. And they rode up on their Harley bikes. They were still like full on like motorcycle riders. And he definitely wasn't your average person you see in the herb store, and he had found this and he's gave me a clear, very abrupt, explanation and very frustrated that his other friends that were dead would not drink this really strange mushroom.